Hi, welcome back to Wisdom Matters. In this lesson, we will see icnd 1 exam 100-101, 35 questions in IP routing technologies. Let us start. Question number 1. Which two commands will display the current IP address and the basic layer 1 and 2 status of an interface? Choose 2. Show version, show IP interface, show protocols, show controllers, show running config. And the answer is C and D, that is show protocols and show controllers. Show protocol commands displays the status of configured layer 2 and 3 protocols, while show controllers displays statistics for interface hardware layer 1. Question 2. An administrator is in the process of changing the configuration of a router. What command will allow the administrator to check the changes that have been made prior to saving the new configuration? A. Show running config. B. Show current config. C. Show running config. D. Show memory. E. Show flash. F. Show process. And the answer is C, show running config. This command followed by the appropriate parameters will show the running configuration, hence the admin will be able to see what changes have been made and then they can be saved. Question 3. On a live network, which commands will verify the operational status of the router interfaces? Choose 2. And the option will be A, show interfaces, B, show IP protocols, C, debug interface, D, show IP interface brief, E, show start. And the answer is A and D, that is show interface and show IP interface brief, because both these commands will show the current status of the interfaces. Either in show or debug mode, both will display the information. Question 4. Which router command will configure an interface with the IP address 10.10.80.1./19 is 19-bit subnet mask? The options are A, IP address 10.10.80.1/19, B, IP address 10.10.80.1 and 255.255.00, or IP address 10.10.80.1 255.255.255.0, or IP address 10.10.80.1 255.255.224.0, or the IP address 10.10.80.1 255.255.240.0, or IP address 10.10.80.1 and subnet mask 255.255.255.240. And the answer is D, router config IP address 10.10.80.1 255.255.224.0. Refer to the exhibit for question 5. These two routers are given here. The two routers have had their startup configuration cleared and have been restarted. At a minimum, what must be the administrator to do? Enable CDP exchange information between router 1 and router 2. A. Configure the router with the CDP enable command. B. Enter no shutdown commands on router A and router 2's fast Ethernet 0/1 interface, or configure IP addressing and no shutdown commands on both router 1 and router 2 fast Ethernet 0/1 interface, or configure IP addressing and no shutdown commands on either of the router 1 or router 2 fast Ethernet 0/1 interface. And the answer is B. No. Enter no shutdown command on router 1 and router 2 fastner 01 interfaces. If the shutdown command is in place, the both routers can't communicate each other. So make sure that you give command no shutdown. Question 6. What two things does a router do when it forwards a packet? Choose two. A. Switches the packet to the appropriate outgoing interfaces. B. Computes the destination host address. C. Determines the next hop on the path. D. Updates the destination IP address. E. Forwards ARP request. And the answer is A and C. It switches the packet to the appropriate outgoing interface, and before that it determines the next hop on the path. Without following these two processes, namely switching the packet to appropriate interface and telling the packet where to go by providing it with the destination IP address, the purpose of the same would not be solved. Question 7. Which two of these functions do routers perform on packets? Choose two. 1. Examine the layer 2 headers of inbound packets and use the information to determine the next hop for the packets. Update the layer 2 headers of outbound packets with the MAC addresses of the next hop. Examine the layer 3 headers of inbound packets and use that information to determine the next hop for the packets. Or D. Examine the layer 3 headers of inbound packets and use that information to determine the complete path along which the packets will be routed to their ultimate destinations. E. Updates the layer 3 headers of outbound packets so that the packets are properly directed to valid next hops. Or F. Update the layer 3 headers of outbound packets so that packets are properly directed to their ultimate destination. And the answer is B and C. The router will update layer 2 addresses of outbound packets with MAC addresses of the next hops, and it examines the layer 3 headers of inbound packets and use that information to determine the next hops for the packets. Don't confuse this question with the switch. Switch and router both work differently. This is a basic function of the router to receive incoming packets and then forward them to their required destination. This is done by reading layer 3 headers of inbound packets and update the info to layer 2 for further hopping. Question 8. The command IP route 192.168.100.160 255.255.255.224 192.168.10.2 was issued on a router. No routing protocols or other static routes are configured on the router. Which statement is true about this command? The interface with the IP address 192.168.10.2 is on the same router. Or B. The command sets a gateway of last resort for the router. C. Packets that are destined for the host 192.168.100.160 will be sent to 192.168.10.2. Or the D. The command creates a static routes for all IP traffic with the source address 192.168.100.160. And the answer is C. Packets that are destined for the host 192.168.100.160 will be sent to 192.168.10.2. What does administrative distance refer to? A. The cost of a link between two neighboring routers. B. The advertised cost to reach the network. C. The cost to reach A network that is administratively set. D. A measure of the trustworthiness of routing information source. And the answer is a measure of the trustworthiness of routing information source. Administrative distance is the feature that routers use in order to select the best path when there are two or more different routers to the same destination from two different routing protocols. Administrative distance defines the reliability of routing protocol. Each routing protocol is prioritized in order of most to least reliable with the help of an administrative distance value. Which iOS command is used to initiate a login info into a VTI port on the remote router? A login, B telnet, C trace, D ping, or E line VTI 0-5, or F login. And the answer is B telnet. VTI ports are telnet ports, hence command B will initiate login or connection to the telnet port. What is the default administrative distance of the OSPF routing protocol? 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, or 170? And the correct answer is C110. Please remember, study, and keep these numbers tip of your finger. It's very important, and you may get a lot of questions related to this table. Question 12. After the network has converged, what type of messaging, if any, occurs between R3 and R4? No messages are exchanged. Hello are sent every 10 seconds. The full database from each router is sent every 30 seconds. The routing table from each router is sent every 60 seconds. If you see, this is OSPF network segment, and in this one is the correct answer is B. Hellos are sent every 10 seconds. Question number 13. R1 is configured with the default configuration of OSPF from the following list of IP addresses configured on router 1. Which address will the OSPF process select as the router ID? That is A 192.168.0.1, B 172.16.1.1, C 172.16.2.1, and D 172.16.2.225. And the correct answer is 192.168.0.1. The router ID is an IP address used to identify the router and chosen using the following sequences: the highest IP address assigned to the loopback logical interface, or if a loopback interface is not defined, the highest IP address of all the active routers' physical interface will be chosen. The router ID can be manually assigned. In this case, because of a loopback interface is not configured, so the highest active IP address is 192.168.0.1 is chosen as the router ID. Next question, number 14. What information does a router running a link state protocol use to build and maintain its topological database? Choose 2. A. Hello packets, B. SAP messages sent by other routers, C. LSA from other routers, D. beacons received on the point-to-point links, E. routing tables received from other link states routes, or F. TTL packets from designated routers. And the answer is A and C, that is hello packets and LSAs from the other routers. Question number 15. show IP route has been run, and you see the result is as above. Now what does the 128 refer in the router output above? And the correct answer is OSPF cost. The first parameter is the administrative distance that of OSPF, that is always 110, while the second parameter is the cost of OSPF. Question number 16. Which of the following describe the process identifier that is used to run OSPF on a router? Choose 2. A. It is locally significant. B. It is globally significant. C. It is needed to identify a unique instance of an OSPF database. D. It is an optional parameter required only if multiple OSPF processes are running on the router. E. All routers in the same OSPF area must have the same process ID if they are to exchange routing information. And the answer is A and C. It is locally significant. It is needed to identify a unique instance of an OSPF database. Question 17. Open shortest path first is a routing protocol developed for Internet Protocol networks by the Interior Gateway Protocol Working Group of the Internet Engineering Task Force. What is the default administrative distance of the OSPF routing protocol? We already gone through a couple of questions before, but the options are 90, 100, 110, 20, 130 and 170, and the answer is 110C. Again, the same table is here. Go through the full table and remember whenever is required. Question number 18. Which addresses are OSPF hello packets addressed to on point-to-point networks? 224.0.0.5, 172.16.0.1, 192.168.0.5, 225.20.0.1, 254.255.255.255, and the correct answer is A, 224.0.0.5. OSPF hello packets have a destination address of 224.0.0.5, the all OSPF routers multicast address. Question number 19. Which statements describe the routing protocol OSPF? Choose 3. It supports VLSM. It is used to route between autonomous systems. If confines network instability to one area of the network. It increases routing overhead on the network. It allows extensive control of control updates, or it is simpler to configure than RIP2, and the answer is A, it supports VLSM. C, it confines network instability to one area of the network, and E, it allows extensive control of routing updates. PC1 pings PC2. What 3 things will core router do with the data that is received from PC1? Choose 3. After going through this exhibit, please go through the answers below. This is A, the data frames will be forwarded out interfaces faster than 0/1 of core router. The data frames will be forwarded out of interface at the faster than 1/1 of core router. Core router will replace the destination IP addresses of the packets with the IP address of PC2. Core router will replace the MAC addresses of PC2 in the destination MAC address of the frames. Co-router will put the IP addresses of the forwarding fast Ethernet interface in the place of the source IP address in the packets, or co-router will put the MAC address of the forwarding fast Ethernet interface in the place of the source MAC address. And the answer is B. The data frames will be forwarded out interface fast Ethernet 1/0 of co-router, and D. Co-router will replace the MAC address of PC2 in the destination MAC address of the frames, and F. Co-router will put the MAC address of the forwarding fast Ethernet interface in the place of the source MAC address. Question number 21. Which three statements are correct about RIP version 2? Choose 3. It uses broadcast for its routing updates. It supports authentication. It is a classless routing protocol. It has a lower default administrative distance than RIP version 1. It has the same maximum hop count as RIP version 1. It does not send the subnet mask any updates. And the answer is B. It supports authentication. It is a classless routing protocol, and E. It has the same maximum hop count as RIP version 1. Question number 22. OSPF routing uses the concept of areas. What are the characteristics of OSPF areas? Choose 3. Each OSPF area requires a loopback interface to be configured. B. Areas may be assigned any number from 0 to 65535. That is 65,535 numbers. You have option +1. Sorry. C. Area 0 is called the backbone area. D. OSPF networks do not require multiple areas. E. Multiple OSPF areas must connect to area 0. And F. Single area OSPF network must be configured in area 1. And the answer is B, C, and E. That is, areas may be assigned any number from 0 to 65,535. C. Area 0 is called the backbone area. And E. Multiple OSPF areas must connect to area 0. Part of the OSPF network is shown on the right. Please go through it carefully. And the question is, you work as a network technician, study the exhibit carefully, assume that all routers interfaces are operational and correctly configured. In addition, assume that OSPF has been correctly configured on router 2. How will the default route configured on router 1 affect the operation of router 2? And the answers are A. Any packet destined for a network that is not directly connected to router 2 will be dropped immediately. Any packet destined for a network that is not directly connected to a router 1 will be dropped. Any packet destined for a network that is not directly connected to router 2 will be dropped immediately because of lack of gateway on router 1. D. The network directly connected to a router R2 will not be able to communicate with the 172.16.100.0, 172.16.100.28 and 172.16.100.64 subnetworks. E. Any packet destined for the network that is not referred in the routing table of the router R2 will be directed to R1. R1 will then send that packet back to R2 and the routing loop will occur. And the answer is any packet destined for the network that is not referenced in the routing table of router 2 will be directed to R1. R1 will then send it packet back to R2 and routing loop will occur. Question 24. Which two statements are true about loopback addresses that is configured on router B? Choose 2. It ensures that data will be forwarded by router B. B. It provides stability for the OSPF process on router B. C. It specifies that the router ID for router B should be 10.10.0.0.1. It decreases the metric for routers that are advertised from router B. E. It indicates that router B should be elected the DR for the LAN. And the answer is it provides stability for the OSPF process router B. It specifies that the router ID for router B should be 10.0.0.1. Question 25. Which characteristics are representative of link state routing protocol? Choose 3. A. Provides common view of entire topology. B. Exchanges routing tables with neighbors. C. Calculates shortest path. D. Utilizes event-triggered updates. E. Utilizes frequent periodic updates. And the answer is EA. Provides common view of entire topology, calculates shortest path, and utilizes event-triggered updates. That's A, C, and D. Next question. When running OSPF, what would cause router A not to form an adjacency with router B? The loopback address are on different subnets. The value of the dead timers on the routers are different. Route summarization is enabled on both routers. The process identifier on router A is different than the process identifier on router B. And the answer is the value of the dead timers on the router are different. Refer the exhibit. The network is converged after link state advertisements are received from router A. What information will router A contain in its routing table for the subnets 208.149.23.64 and 208.149.23.96? Go through the detail exhibit, and the answer is A. 208.149.23.64 via 190.173.23.10 and 0007 fastener 0/0 208.149.23.96 via 190.173.23.10 00016 fastest Ethernet 0/0. Question number 28. Which commands are required to properly configure a router to form OSPF and to add network 192.168.16.0/24 to OSPF area 0? Choose 2. Router OSPF 1, router OSPF 0, router OSPF area 0, network 192.168.16.0/0000255 area 0, or network 192.168.16.0/0000255 network 192.168.16.0/255.255.255.0 area 0. And the answer is A. Router config router OSPF 1 and router config router network 192.168.16.0/0000255 area 0. The question 29. Which parameter or parameters are used to calculate OSPF cost in CISCO routers? Is it bandwidth, delay, and MTU, or bandwidth and MTU, or bandwidth, MTU, reliability, delay, and load? And the answer is B, is bandwidth. See the exhibit below. Why are two OSPF designated routers identified on core routers? A. Core routers is connected to more than one multi-access network. B. The router at 208.149.23.130 is a secondary DR in case the primary fails. C. Two routers IDs have the same OSPF priority and are therefore tied for DR election. D. The DR election is still underway and there are two contenders for the role. And the answer is core router is connected to more than one multi-access network. Very simple one. Next, question number 31. What is the OSPF default frequency in seconds at which a CISCO router sends hello packets on multi-access network? 10, 40, 30, 20. And the correct answer is A, is 10. The question number 32. A network administrator is trying to add new router into the established OSPF network. The network attached to the new router do not appear in the routing table of the router other OSPF routers. Given the information in the partial configuration shown below, what configuration error is causing this problem? A. The process ID is configured improperly. B. The OSPF area is configured improperly. C. The network wildcard mask is configured improperly. D. The network number is configured improperly. E. The AS is configured improperly. F. The network subnet mask is configured improperly. And the answer is the network wildcard mask is configured improperly. Remember, the wildcard mask should be the opposite of the network. Which statement is true? An IPv6 address is 64 bits long and is represented as hexadecimal characters. B. An IPv6 address is 32 bit long and is represented as decimal digits. An IPv6 address is 128 bit long and is represented as decimal digits. An IPv6 address is 128 bit long and is represented as hexadecimal characters. And the answer is the D. The IPv6 address is 128 bits long and it includes hexadecimal characters. In the question number 34, refer the exhibit. A company wants to use NAT in the network shown. Which command will apply the NAT configuration to the proper interface? Choose 2. The router 1 interface 0/1 or interface serial 0/1, interface fast Ethernet 0/0 or interface fast Ethernet 0/0 R1 or interface serial 0/1 R1 or interface fast Ethernet 0/0 R1. And the right answer is the B and C. On the router 1, interface serial 01 R1 config if IP NAT outside, and the second command would be the interface fast Ethernet 0/0 R1 config if NAT inside. And that's it. We had 34 questions for you. Hope this video was informative to you. Thank you for watching.